This is the Above Average Podcast, and you are listening because you want an above average life. Hello guys, and welcome back to the Above Average Podcast, the podcast where we talk to above average people about their above average lives. Now, my guest today is a former fitness coach turned mindset guru, focusing on coaching people how to master their mindset, optimize their health, and build a fulfilling life. He's here now to share a story and blow your socks off. Please welcome Imthiaz Ghulam to the show. How are you, mate?
I'm good. That was some fucking introduction, that.
Thank you very much, mate. I could have gone into way more detail, but I didn't want to give any spoilers.
Absolutely smashed that, mate.
Amazing. Thank you. Sometimes I butcher it and have to redo it, but it's fine. We'll not tell that. So, listen, mate. So, one of the biggest things about you is, obviously, if anyone Googles you, there's an article that comes up straight away, right? So, what is that article? And tell me a little bit about that backstory. Because you started selling drugs around 15, 16, is that right?
Yeah.
So, take me back to that time of life and what life was like back then.
So, around 15 or 16, it was that period where puberty's hit. And
say no more.
Yeah, and I was looking around for inspiration, as you do, as to like what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do with my life, should I say. And the area that I grew up in terms of role models, there weren't any good ones, quote unquote. However, the guys who were doing well, in my eyes, were guys who were, on the streets, selling drugs. They had all the cars, the clothes, the jewelry, the respect, the money. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to be. In fact, I can remember telling the teacher, I think it was about year 9 it was. I was getting myself into a lot of trouble around about those times. And there was a bit of an intervention scenario going on. And she sat me down and she goes, I've met students like you before. And they either end up dead or they end up in jail. Well, she's right. she's right. I'm going to die one day as well. And she goes to me, what is it that you're going to do with your life? And I said to her, I'm either going to be a very successful businessman or a drug dealer. And
I like the honesty that you were with that.
I think I've always had that, and I've lost people in life because of my brutal honesty. But that's what I live by. And yeah, so for me, I kind of made the decision then. This is the path that I'm going to go on. And I'm the sort of individual, when I've got my mindset, I've got my eyes on the prize, as it were.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going for. Fuck all else matters.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then from then onwards, it was just a cascade of events where in hindsight, I was fucking up my life more and more and more. But because the money was coming in, as I developed as a drug dealer, as I climbed the ladder, I was kind of blind to it until I went away.
Was this like an organized thing, or was this just friends flogging here and there? Like, how organized was this?
In the beginning, it was a case of, it was just weed in the beginning, like most guys start off. And it wasn't really organized at that level. As I started to get older, got involved in other circles, that's when it started to become more organized.
Yeah, so obviously, age 15, 16, what kind of money are you pulling in back then? Like,
nothing substantial, man. It was just pocket money at that point.
Yeah.
It was purely pocket money, but it was a case of, I could get those trainers.
Yeah. Was it sporadic for you, or was it a routine every week thing? Or did you just
in the beginning, it's like when you start any business. I can remember getting a phone call for a 10 bag of weed, and it was pissing it down outside. And I've jumped on a BMX. I must have rode like 40 minutes. And I got there and the guy didn't answer his phone. So it wasn't organised at all. There was no fucking organisation.
Unorganised crime. I love it.
It was unorganised crime. It was a case of, smash and grab. That's what it was in the beginning. But then the longer you stay in it, you find your feet. The same with anything. The same with business.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you don't know what the fuck you are doing. You just got the balls to do it. Sometimes it's stupid to do it.
Yeah. Were you getting into fights and things back then in school? Were you an aggressive person, or were you just attracted to the lifestyle of?
I was getting in fights, but not any more than any other kid. If that makes sense. I wasn't like an overly aggressive kid.
Yeah.
To be fair, I was having to think the other day. At one point, I was a bit of a bully, which doesn't sit too well with me now because I fucking hate bullies. But then it was a case of my focus primarily on money probably after I left school.
Yeah. I think that's kind of, especially obviously being a guy myself, I know the lure of wanting money and stuff like that. Like, but I'm very, like, I don't like to take risks like I'm not. I take risks in like business or with this or whatever, but I'm very calculated when I do it. I'm not anything that would be land me in trouble. Say, I'd stay away from. Like I've been offered drugs. I've been asked to take this here somewhere, and I'm like, no, I'm not getting involved in this shit. You know, I know what this leads to. I've seen too many BBC documentaries. So, so the high life of the drug dealer, what's that actually like? Is it as glamorous as maybe as you see in TV shows? Like, what was the lifestyle as you got sort of into your
What do you
later life?
perceive as, glamorous? You mentioned what is shown to be in TV shows.
Yeah.
That's bollocks.
Yeah.
That's absolute fucking bollocks. Okay.
We're talking like gold chains. We're talking
Yes,
like people being beaten up in alleyways over money and stuff like that.
I had gold chains.
Yeah.
People were beat up in alleyways, yes. I wouldn't say that's glamorous. It was just a case of what happens when you're a kid who grew up with fuck all. You buy dumb shit. You're always going to buy dumb shit. So to the outside looking at it, it's glamorous, but there's no peace in that life.
Yeah.
You're always looking over your shoulder. And that's the reality of it. That is the reality of it. And I actually made a conscious decision for myself as to say, I'm willing to put up with this uncertainty just to have this lifestyle. So that was something that's a decision I made early on. I was like, I'm probably going to go to jail at some point. I've never been under the impression that, I'm going to get away with this forever.
Yeah, crime pays kind of thing. Yeah.
I put it down as an occupational hazard. You go to prison as an occupational hazard when you're doing fuckery on the street. So, yeah.
Most people's jobs, they might accidentally break a finger or something, but with yours, it was like you
could
go to prison.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no hard hat for that.
Did you ever have anyone come for you personally? Like, obviously you mentioned eyes in the back of the head. Were you ever like actually in danger yourself, or was it just sort of like dangerous scenarios dealing with dodgy people?
A couple of times, yeah. A couple of times. One time, going back to the chain, I had this gold stupid fucking Belcher chain, and I was probably 18 or 19, and I can remember nearly getting that robbed off me. One guy's come from the front, tried to attack me. Another guy's unclipped it. Luckily, how the scramble happened, it's landed in my hand as it dropped off, put it in my back pocket and kind of got away. And apart from that, been robbed a couple times when I was younger, and I was really young. But that's about it, man. Like I said, for me, it's not anything out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
It kind of just like, when I tell people about my story, growing up or whatever, they're like, whoa, that's fucking nuts. But for me, it was just normal.
It was what you knew.
It was normal.
Yeah.
It was normal.
Who got you into that lifestyle? Was it a friend in school, or was it someone like older outside of
Me?
No, but like, how did you get in? Like, did you start buying it yourself and then go, actually, I want to start selling it, or like, did you meet someone and like, hey, I've got a job opportunity?
I had a friend at school. I'm not going to mention his name.
That's fine.
He's a legit guy now. Anyway, this guy.
He's now organised. Yeah,
he's organised. He worked at a bar. He was 15 and he was working at a bar, and that bar was run. Well, it was a front for guys laundering money.
Yeah.
And this guy was in contact with drugs, and he'd bring drugs into school. And that was my first contact with hard drugs, as it were. Before that was just weed and that sort of shit. And he used to tell me, I've seen this much money, that much money. And that kind of triggered it for me. But yeah, I made my own decisions, man. I made my own decisions. I saw certain things. I thought, that's what I'm going to do. It's not a case of... Because if I was the sort of person to say, yeah, this person got me into that, it's also me passing blame onto someone.
Yeah, I get that.
It's also me not taking ownership. I knew what the fuck I was doing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So age 26, you actually get caught up in a conspiracy. So
yeah.
How did you... What were you caught for, first of all? Like, how did that transpire? And then what went through your mind as you were getting arrested?
So we were under surveillance. I only found this out when I was in the back of the police car. And what happened was, there's a kid who owed money. He got a kicking. His car was taken off him. His mother's then reported the car missing. And then we came under surveillance. And obviously we were being watched. On the day, we went to pick up a couple of things. Couple of parcels, and the doors come straight off, and that's where it was, and we were reminded straight away. I was on road on a Friday, lived my day to day, and then I didn't come home for 3.5 years.
That's crazy. What went through your mind at that time when you shoved in the back of the car? You just like, this has finally caught up with me, or were you like raging? Like, what was?
I thought, how the fuck are these motherfuckers got me?
Like, how did I get stupid?
I can remember asking the copper, where did we fuck up? And he just laughed at me. I thought,
You're like, give me advice for not to do this again.
Yeah. I was like, where the fuck have you got us? You know what I mean? So, I only found that out once, we got remanded, pled guilty, a second hearing at court, so we got 25% off, and that's when they started to release the evidence. And yeah, fucking cunts.
Brilliant. What was, so like, obviously you played guilty. What was daily life like in prison for you? So actually, I'm curious. What's like, because obviously in a lot of films where people get arrested, you see them go into the cell door shuts, and they turn around and look really fucking miserable that they're being caught. What was it like when you get introduced to the cell for the first time?
So for me, I was in the holding cells at custody for 3 days. So they locked me up on a Friday. I didn't go to court on a Monday, so I didn't get remanded until a Monday.
Yeah.
However, when I was in that holding cell, I can remember having about a 45-minute period where I completely lost my shit. It was only 45 minutes. And then I sat down.
That's a long time to smash up in one room.
There's fuck all to smash. Everything's glued down. There's fuck all smash.
Kicking the metal toilet room.
Yeah, breaking your foot on it. Yeah. I can remember having 45 minutes where I completely lost my shit. But then I remembered occupational hazard. And then I thought back, okay, who else has been caught with this amount before? Okay, so I put in my head, you're probably going to do 4 years behind the door. Once I realised that, I went to sleep.
What, just straight acceptance?
Yeah. At that point, I was like, this is home. They don't let me go. This is home, or a version of this is going to be home.
Yeah.
And a lot of people tend to fight and, it was this, that, the other, somebody snitched or grasped. That wasn't going to do anything for me mentally.
Yeah.
So it was at that point I kind of accepted it.
Interesting. What was so obviously you're now in prison. What's the daily routine like while you're in there?
So on remand, this is where you haven't been sentenced yet, and you're still innocent. On remand, it was literally I slept most of remand. I just slept because we were at Dovegate, HMP Dovegate, and on the wing that we were on, it was just induction. So new people coming in, and it was mainly smackheads. Mainly smackheads, and it was just a case of adapting to the environment. And what I learned from my time in prison, even when you move in wing, it takes about 2 weeks for you to settle into any sort of environment.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took about 2 weeks or so to get used to the routine, which was coming out for, I can't remember off the top of my head, I think it was like half an hour for lunch. We didn't get no social. Bang up us at 5. You get let out for exercise in the morning on the yard at 7:30, and that's it.
Wow. Was it like a lonely time for you? Like, what are you like as a person? Do you prefer your own company, or do you love being around people? Like, was it hard for you in there?
I can sit on my own, and I'm absolutely fine. I can sit with my own thoughts, and I'm absolutely fine. I was padded up at that point, though. I was padded up with a lad from... Who did they pad me up with first? A lad from Wolverhampton. Can't remember his name. And they're all the good lads. The guys I was padded up with are all good lads. Never got put in with the dickhead. Some guys do have problems. They get put in with the smackhead. They have to beat the smackhead up.
Assert dominance, beat the smackhead, yeah.
Yeah, no, only to get themselves out or even threaten to beat up the smackhead.
Yeah.
You can say, I've seen guys say to screws on the wing, you put him in with me, he's getting his fucking head kicked in. And then they rethink. So, yeah, it was fine. It was only... Once I've got sentenced, I was still living as if I'm outside, so I was still smoking weed in jail. I was still doing all that sort of stuff. And then I got put on basic. And that's where they get, they take away your TV. They put you in on a basic wing, as it were. You get stripped down to £4 on your spends. So you're going to spend £4 a week, and you're going to spend that on phone credit ringing home. And I got piss tested, got put on basic, failed another piss test, got put on basic again. I wasn't learning. And then
there's a pattern here, isn't there?
Yeah. And then I was like, fuck this. can't be living my sentence like this. And I spoke to a guy called Martin, old school geezer. He's 50 odd he was, and he was in for import. And I was still of the mind, wait till I fucking get out. I'm gonna move smarter. I'm gonna be better. I'm gonna move, make more money, and they're not gonna catch me this time.
So you plan to actually go back to that life then?
Yeah. And I spoke to Martin. And I was like, Martin was in for import. He was finishing off a 24 stretch, I believe. And he was like, yeah, man, been in my 30s, been here in my 40s, I'm just finishing off a 24 stretch. I was like, fuck that.
Nuts.
And I looked at him, he just looked battered.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, something needs to happen here. Because I'm not coming back inside. I'd just be stupid. And that's when I started to educate myself and so on and so forth.
Yeah, because you mentioned to me you did a lot of reading while you were in there. You started learning on sales, marketing, all that sort of stuff in there. Like, was it like, did they come around and give you these books? Do you have a library? Like, where did you go for this?
My missus at the time, I was getting her to send books in. So the first book I read was The Undisputed Truth by Mike Tyson. And he spoke about reading. And he's on about reading the Count of Monte Carlo. So I thought, I'm going to read the Count of Monte Carlo. It's fucking dog shit.
I've never read it, so I can't comment.
Don't waste your time. Then I was like, okay, fiction ain't the one for me. So I went down educational. So all knowledge is interlinked. Everything leads on to everything else. Mm-hmm. So by the time I finished one book, I'd have a question, and then I'd order the next book which related to that question. So I spent the majority, probably the best part of 3 years, reading every single day.
You kind of can't really do much else. I mean, you can train.
You can. Oh, trust me, you can.
What else could you have? What else could you spend your time doing?
I could have smoked drugs. I could have been crying like a bitch to the screws. I could have been getting involved in fights. You can do anything there. You create your own life in there, and it's up to you what you create. And I made the decision to I'm going to redefine. I'm going to reinvent myself.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is it. I'm drawing the fucking line. I'm not going back to that. I'm not getting involved in this bullshit politics that's going on in here because people think it's real life. It's not real life. It's not real life. You're there for a short while, unless you're alive and you're there for a long while.
Yeah.
But even then, I never took anything personal. I thought, okay, my life is outside. I need to prepare for that.
Yeah.
Whatever happens in here, I don't really give a fuck about. This is like a waiting room. And that's the way I kind of saw it.
Yeah, because you're also, like, obviously you're a strong guy, you're a tall guy. Like, were you targeted at all in there? Was there any altercations?
No, I think if you're a dickhead, only dickheads get into trouble. If you're borrowing shit and you're not giving it back, or you're getting involved in too much shit, or, if you're that sort of individual, if you're a busybody,
yeah,
sooner or later it's going to catch up with you. Mm-hmm. I just got my head down, had a close-knit group of guys that I spoke to, and just kept it moving.
Nice, man. So you actually worked as part of the mental health team?
At one point, yes, I did.
So what was that like working with the mental health of inmates then? What kind of issues come up there?
You realise that there are people out there that have had it way fucking worse. I can remember speaking to one kid, grew up in care. When you heard his story, it was like, you never had a fucking chance, bruv.
Yeah.
You never had a chance. And this guy was cutting himself. He was smoking Mamba. He was in self-destruct mode.
Yeah.
I'm talking to him, I'm trying to get through to this kid. And he's, when you meet an individual and they've lost all hope.
Mm-hmm. I've met a few.
Yeah. And especially in that scenario, it makes you appreciate what you actually fucking got. Mm-hmm. And that motivated me even more so to change once I got out. Mm-hmm. I mean, you hear some sad stories, man. Sad stories where people have lost, or even people have died. On the wing, one of the wings I was on, within a year, 3 people died. One guy was 26, Riley, was in the pad next door but one to me. Had a seizure, died, 26.
Wow.
In prison. His mum and dad had to come on the wing, they locked down the wing and look at his body.
Like to identify it? And
yeah, I don't know the purpose of it, but they let the parents on.
Yeah.
They let the family onto the wing. And when you see that, you think, fuck, that is a life wasted. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm so passionate about making sure that men become the most capable beings that they can. Because at the end of the day, I've seen wasted potential. Mm-hmm. I've seen elite level athletes inside prison, genetic freaks, some of the smartest men I'm not joking. Some of the smartest men are behind those walls, and it's heartbreaking to see.
Yeah, it's interesting the the consequences side of life, isn't it? Because I'm always thinking, where are my actions going to go? What type of road am I on? And I'm always interested in. I mean, one of my favorite shows is Breaking Bad. Obviously, so have you seen it?
I can't watch TV shows, you know.
Actually, you mentioned it to me. Yeah,
I can't
this
watch
this is one you need to because it's a classic.
Yeah, it's about a teacher who turns into a drug dealer. I've tried tried watching it. Even when people ask me about Game of Thrones, have you seen it? No, I've not seen Game of Thrones.
Oh, it's 4 seasons. I got bored.
Yeah.
But basically, the whole premise of Breaking Bad is obviously it's a good man. He obviously gets hit with this cancer, and then he's got two choices. He can either humbly accept money from somebody else and deal with it, and pass away in a couple of years, or he can go down this other route with his chemistry and make loads of money and live this lifestyle. And it's like, I always loved the idea that there was two, almost like sliding doors, if you've seen that film Effect, where there's two, you can see where the parallels would have went in someone's life. And I'm always interested in the idea that, like, you're only one decision away from a totally different life. Like, when you were younger, you could have just went, I'm actually, you know what, I'm not interested in the drugs, and lived a totally different life, never been in prison, never done all this. Like, do you think you'd still be doing what you do now had you not gone through that? Or do you think you would have just, been a labourer somewhere? I can't say,
because it's difficult, especially in terms of people's lives, to live in hypotheticals. Because the decisions that are made are the decisions that are made. One of my most hated things to say is, I could have been a footballer. I could have been a doctor.
Yeah.
I could have been a boxer. Well, you fucking should have done.
Yeah.
And thinking about it now, I've never ever said to anyone, I could have been. I'm exactly where I should be. I'm exactly who I should be.
Yeah.
And who I'm happy with at any given point. Because the decisions I made have brought me to that point.
Yeah. It's not. I don't regret my actions because I like kind of where I am at the minute, I suppose you could say.
I've always liked where I am. I've never, even when I was in prison, I wasn't like, oh, it could have been different. I should have been a doctor. I should have listened to school. I should have paid attention. I should have not got in trouble. No. Where the fuck is the fun in that? Where's the fun in that? Like my brother, he was just younger than me. He's only 18 months younger than me. And he's, gone by the book, done the normal thing, and credit to him. But I always say is, has he ever sniffed a line off a windowsill as the sun comes up? No, he hasn't. And that's experience. Are you with me?
Yeah. I know what you mean.
That's experience.
Yeah.
Are you with me? So in terms of experience, yes, I've experienced bullshit all of my own accord, but then I've also got the power to experience the highs as well. So taking full control and ownership, that's like one of my biggest values, if not the most important value to me. Take ownership of your shit, because once you do that, your life will start to fucking change.
Yeah.
It's only when you do that your life will start to change.
It's interesting you say that about doing a line off a window. So not that I've done it, but in terms of, like, I've often thought, because I've never touched drugs, I've never taken anything, and I always think, am I boring for never having tried that? And what have I missed out on? Have I missed out on a cool experience? Have I missed out on a certain group of friends for that? Obviously, I don't like to live in that, but I like to think deeply about, have I missed out on something? But, like, I'm always thought, like, no, I've that was similar to you. That was my decision to never touch that, and that's not an experience I care to have. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't miss what I haven't experienced, but I'm also like, I'm not fussed on that side of life. People go, you've never tried weed, you've never been. No, I haven't. I don't care. It's not something that's interested me at all in my life, and I'm happy and comfortable that I've never touched it.
I think with that sort of thing is what you value at the time.
Yeah.
I obviously value that thing. Whatever I did, whatever actions you take. People talk about motivation. Motivation is fucking real. I used to say motivation ain't real, it's discipline, that all bullshit. But motivation is real. But motivation is tied to what you truly value.
Yeah.
Motivation is tied to what you truly value. So if you value, I don't know, sniffing cocaine, you're going to be motivated to sniff cocaine.
Yeah.
Are you with me? If you value getting in shape, you're going to train, you're going to eat well. So motivation is tied to what you truly value. The problem is when people say I'm not motivated, the question should be, do you truly value the thing that you're trying to be motivated for? And if you aren't doing the thing, then you don't really value it. And that's okay too. Just fucking admit it.
Yeah.
You know?
Be honest with yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, motivation is a motive to do something.
Yeah.
Like, that's why I always say, it's like, if you're not motivated to do something, do you actually care about the thing as much? But it's also like you said, admit that you don't care enough. Like, some people are saying, I'm not motivated to go to the gym. Well, you just don't care. Like, or at least find some sort of thing. Like, if you say you have kids, for example, right? I mean, I don't have kids, but like, if you have kids, be in shape for them. There's a motive that isn't just selfish based. It isn't just, I want bigger biceps. It's like, I'm going to get in shape so I can be around for my grandkids, so I can look after my kids better, so I'm not getting out of breath chasing them upstairs. There's a motive there. If you look hard enough, you can find it. But I'm also curious with you. Do you think, because obviously your upbringing and my upbringing are very different.
Yeah.
My school was, okay, it wasn't a rough school. It wasn't a posh school. It was just a basic bitch school, right? So I'm like, my friendship group was very much the nerdy people. So that has impacted a lot of my future, I would say. And the kind of people that I hang around with is based upon how I am. Do you think that area sort of influenced that decision? Do you think you were maybe not a victim of that circumstance in that area, but do you think that it influenced your decisions in a way?
School was a funny one with me because I didn't really hang around with I hung around with white lads in high school. But then outside of school, I had the lads that I grew up with, which looked like me. So I had both elements in terms of, especially my teenage years, had both elements.
Yeah.
And I think that's what shaped me because I was kind of straddling, and I still am, both sides. Obviously, I'm a British Muslim and of Pakistani descent. And it can be difficult, it can be confusing.
Yeah.
Because they contradict each other in so many ways. In so many ways. Values, appear, whatever it might be. And that is difficult to navigate.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Very difficult to navigate. So in regards to was influence, every human being is influenced. Every human being is influenced, whether you like it or not. But it's about choosing, and where I chose to put myself, which then dictated where that influence was coming from. So in terms of like the circumstance, I chose the circumstance. I chose who I was going to be friends with. I chose who I valued. I chose who I spent time with. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So in terms of going back to the prison side of things, you were from a religious background, but you weren't overly religious when you went into prison. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So you found religion in prison.
Yeah.
From a strange source, I would say.
It was a strange source.
So how did you find religion again while you were inside?
So because I was selling drugs, you kind of move away from your religion just as default because it contradicts your religious beliefs on so many levels. You're spreading evil in the world. You're fucking people's lives up.
Yeah.
You're profiteering from it. And when I went into prison, I remember I was on A wing, and there's a guy who come on the wing, and he's in for a terrorist charge. And everyone's like, "Oh, this guy on the wing is in for a terrorist charge." Okay, cool. He lived about three or four doors up from me, and he's new on the wing. The first few days, he's come to my door. He's knocked on the door, and goes, "Can I come in?" I goes, "Come in." And he sat down at the end of my bed and just started to ask some questions about life and started to make me think. And I was a bit apprehensive first. I was like, you don't want that too close with these guys.
Yeah. Because
they have a rough time in jail in regards to with the officers. The amount of times I've seen him, when something's happened on the outside, he's got put in the block. So I was like, fucking hell. But then as I got to know him, and as everyone else got to know him, no one had a bad word to say about him. And he started to bring through that spirituality, that connection with God again.
So he sort of re-inspired you, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
It's interesting. What was it exactly do you remember exactly what he sort of, specifics of what he talked about that made you think the most?
He was actually a good coach now I think about it. He asked me questions. The first question he asked me was, have you read the Quran? I goes, yeah, I've read the Quran. He goes, have you understood it though? I goes, no. He goes, I recommend you read it. So I was in the practice of reading anyway, so I started to read the Quran in English, in a language I could understand, because as Asians, we're taught to read the Quran, which is weird, in Arabic, but we don't understand it.
Okay.
So we can make the sounds with our mouths. Like me putting Spanish in front of you, you could probably read it.
I would butcher it, but yeah.
Same with us. But understanding it is completely different.
Yeah.
So I started to understand it, and then it gave me the perspective of how insignificant I am, and it was empowering. Because it brought back the reality that I am going to die. And when you look at it from a physics standpoint, we are energy. So I kind of married the two together. I was like, the logical side of me was like, okay, this makes sense in terms of physics and energy and so on and so forth. And then reading the Quran kind of put in place, like, why? Are you with me? So science explained how, religion explained why.
I can see that.
You with me?
Obviously, when we spoke on the phone, I obviously mentioned that I don't have a faith, I'm not religious and stuff. So it's interesting to hear, because I'm always open to talk about this, and obviously I know you're happy to talk about it. But we'll circle back to the religious side of your life soon. But you get released from prison in 2021. COVID's all over the place. Like it
was actually just dying off. I can remember going to Tesco, and people were still, they had the face masks on, and all that sort of shit, and I was just happy to be out, man.
But what was it like COVID in prison? Like, so you hear all this going on, and you're like, what's going on here?
That was a fucked up time, bro. So with COVID in prison, when it hit, I think it was February or March time.
Yeah, it was in March 2020, I think. Where everything sort of kicked off.
Yeah. I can remember just not letting us out one day. I was like, what the fuck? Like out of ourselves, and they started feeding us at the door. I was like, how long is this going to go on for? And then it just went on for months, and I thought, fuck. So you're locked in your cell, apart from 15 minutes a day in the end it was. And eventually it got to a point where I was like, I don't want to come out of my fucking cell.
What, like out of just fear of it, or what?
No, because I was like, you're teasing me here. You're just teasing me.
You let me out, then you put me back in?
Yeah, because the way my brain works, I compartmentalize. I'm like, I either want all of it or none of it.
Right, okay. All or nothing person, right?
I wouldn't say I'm an all or nothing person, but in that instance I was.
Yeah. Either let me out or just
fuck off, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah.
Are you with me? So whilst I was in my cell, I don't know if, I think some mental damage might have gone on. I'll think about it in terms of my psychology, but I just created my own timetable in that cell. So I'd wake up, I'd watch the news, look at all the bullshit that's going on. You remember those daily...
Oh yeah, Boris sitting there.
Chatting Macca.
Yep.
I'd watch him chat Macca for a bit. I'd do my first block of education, which might have been something to do with marketing or the human body or whatever. And then I'd progress my day like that. And that was it for months.
Were you like wearing masks? Was the vaccine talked about in there? Like what?
Yeah, so when people were getting ill, they were moving on to a separate wing.
Okay, well, you had a COVID wing in prison?
Basically, yeah.
Interesting.
And... yeah, the officers were wearing masks, but it was stupid because the officers are leaving the prison and then coming back into the prison. What is the only way for
COVID to get into the prison?
The officers.
Yeah.
So make the officers stay in the cells.
They what?
I was saying, so make the officers stay in the
cells.
cells.
I thought you said the officers stayed. I was like,
they should have fucking done.
Yeah, right.
They should have done.
They should have done. Yeah.
So if you're worried about COVID getting into the jail, stop leaving the jail.
Yeah.
You're talking about lockdown. Lock it down.
Yeah.
For real.
Like an actual prison lockdown,
Lock the motherfucker down. But obviously, they make the rules up as they go along, and that never happened. So, prison started getting COVID. I never got it. But yeah, I didn't take a vaccine. Some people took a vaccine.
So it was obviously offered to you in prison then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't take a vaccine.
Fair enough. Coming out into the world of people, obviously you've just missed the craze of collecting toilet paper and wearing.
We got that shit for free, bro.
there
was no drought. There was no drought. There's no drought in prison.
Should have gone to prison, folks. During COVID, you would not have had to fight for toilet paper.
There was no fighting for toilet paper.
No.
Do you know what I mean? We were stacking that shit up.
They didn't care about you wearing masks. You were all good. You were like, that's fine. So, what's the first thing you do when you get out? What do you do with your life?
What was actually the first thing that I did?
Yeah.
I went to the supplement shop and I bought a shitload of supplements.
Nice.
That's the first thing I did. I think I went I got out on I think it was a Friday. So I spent the weekend with the missus at the time. And then on Monday, I was recording content.
You went straight. Well, like, are you talking like fitness content straight away?
Yeah.
Did you have this? Obviously, this was pre-planned while you're in there.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm getting out. I'm going to start this. Okay. Right.
Yeah, so I did my level 2 and level 3 in prison.
Mm-hmm.
I was training people in prison. The guys who had the mental health, I was working with them. And then I was like, okay, I've got this skill, but this ain't going to make me enough fucking money, is it? Because I've always had a business mind. So I was like, okay, how can I maximize this? That's when I started learning about sales and marketing and so on and so forth. And I think that's why when I didn't make the transition to coming out, I knew what I was doing to some extent. And then when I worked with mentors in the past, because I've got that first knowledge and I understand it, the knowledge that they're giving me is easier to implement. Whereas if you've got no idea of sales or marketing, then it's difficult. And that's why in my first year of online coaching I did, and this ain't a flex, like it don't change your fucking life, but I did over 100k. And people were like,
that's really impressive though.
Yeah, people were like, what the fuck? Well, it's only because I did that study. I had an advantage, to be fair, because I had that much time alone where I could study.
Yeah.
And when I come into touch with people who are teaching me the stuff, I was like, yeah, I get that. So, yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So you go work for a gym, like, did you obviously have to, you like, look, I've just got out of prison, like, help me with that?
I actually messaged him whilst I was in prison.
Like, you had a phone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I messaged him, I was like, bro, I'm in prison, I'm out in 8 months. I told him the wrong jail. I didn't tell him the right jail. Told him I'm in this jail, I'm out in 8 months, what are you saying?
I love it. I love the bluntness that you just said, look, I need a job, I want to do this, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Help me out.
And it was cool, to be fair. So the week after I got out, I went down to his gym, met him, and he goes, crack on.
I love it.
And because I was, this is the mad thing, so lockdown within prison was easing up just before I got out.
Yeah.
So I was actually shooting fitness content on my iPhone 6 in prison. Just me doing burpees and shit. I'm posting what I've trained in the day. Like,
wow. You still got these videos?
They're on my story archives, yeah.
I want to see these.
They're on my
cool.
archives, I'll send them to you.
Yeah.
So I'm posting these things and people are like, oh, you're in good shape, rare. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna train people when I get out. Do you want training? So I was fully booked pretty much straight away.
Do you know what's crazy about that though? Some people say, I don't have time to make content, I don't have any content ideas, I don't know how to get started. Like, you were making content in prison.
Yeah.
Like, you weren't even supposed to have a phone access to this stuff. That's not what you're supposed to have. You found a way. And there's people out there completely whinging about not having, I mean, obviously the time thing's a big factor, but like, I don't know what to do, I don't have any ideas. It's like, you were in prison. You were doing all this, like, behind every, all the police's back. It's crazy. It's like people's bullshit is just thrown away.
I think you've got an unfair advantage when you do operate in restrictions, and restrictions are placed on you, whether you place them on yourself or they're placed on you by other people or circumstance. When you can learn to win in those scenarios, when the restrictions are removed, you're going to take over. You're going to absolutely smash everyone to bits. And I can remember the gym that I was working in, there are people in that gym now, to this day, that are doing the same fucking shit, counting rep and hating their life. And I know they're hating their fucking lives, because I used to hate counting reps as well.
Yeah.
Because they're too scared. And they were the same people, they didn't say it to my face, but behind my back, they're like, oh, he's recording videos, he's doing talking head videos, taking the piss. And guess what? They're doing it now, but you're too late.
Yeah.
Are you with me? And even when I've reached out to them to offer advice and help for free, I'm okay. Why? Because it kills them.
Yeah.
That Apaki in jail has recorded some fucking content and smashed him. That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
People don't fucking like it.
Yeah.
And yeah, so be it. So enjoy your life, mate. Enjoy counting reps.
You're true though. A lot of people have said, because obviously I've trained for a number of years now, and obviously we've got the gym downstairs.
Yeah.
I'm no PT. I like training friends, but people have said, why don't you want to become a PT? Because I'm like, it looks boring. Like, I'm happy to give people results. The results that people get will be good, but I'm just like, I don't want to be going right deeper, like, let more tension, slow it down. You know what I mean? Like that sort of.
Once you've got the instruction down, then you need to coach.
Yeah.
And coaching, I believe, can be done in two circumstances: where you have enough touch points with the person and spend enough time with the person in person, or you do it online where you can monitor them. Because after somebody knows how to do a fucking squat, What they're going to do with that? Nothing. They're just going to know how to squat. To actually get in shape, you need to know other things. You need to know how to manage your life, how to manage your time, how to change your identity and become somebody who's fit. That's where the real magic happens.
Yeah. So obviously, I know, like you've been a fitness trainer for a long time. You are now moving into mindset, which is something that I've seen.
You say a long time. It's been 2 years. It's 2 years before I made that
But you've
jump.
been into fitness for a long time. Yeah. So like obviously a lot of people who've been into fitness, they eventually always, it seems, transition into mindset. Why do you think a lot of fitness gurus and people who get into fitness then transition into more mindset-based stuff?
I can only speak for myself. And with me, I know I can help people. I know I've got a powerful message. I know I've got a vision. I know I've got a skill set. And me getting people in shape is great. But if you're a dickhead with a six-pack, you're still a bit of a dickhead. How about we make you less of a dickhead?
Yeah.
That's a bit more that's a better transformation.
Yeah.
And with my experiences and the knowledge that I've got, there are people who are more knowledgeable, but they haven't lived the life that I've lived. They won't understand certain people's certain struggles, specific struggles.
Yeah.
And because I've had a varied life, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. So that's what, for me, is I fucking enjoy. I love it, man. When I can have a conversation with someone and I can put a new perspective on things for them, that's the biggest fucking buzz I get.
Well, that's exactly why I wanted you on here, because you have a lot of insights that I probably don't. And I love learning from the guests that I get on, because there's always something that I go away and go, I'm just questioning my life choices now after these episodes. It's great. So I hope people listening are also doing that. But for me, I always found, like, because I started training when I was 18 and I didn't take it too seriously. I was just really miserable and I wanted some muscles to get girls, right? That's just how a lot of guys start.
That's where I started.
Yeah, it's a bro thing. And you know what I mean? But like for me, I started to then care more about myself than I ever did before. I started to think, well, I'm training now, but I don't want to go out and get drunk anymore. I don't want to eat shit food. I want to read books that aren't just, magazines or whatever. I want to read and get knowledge. And I always found that because I was training, I started to give more of a shit about myself. And it's true, anyone that starts training, that's why I think they move from fitness to more mindset, is because they start with one area and they realize that actually it's more of a lifestyle that I need to develop, because then the mind follows after the body, but mental health needs physical support. So anything that you do for your body impacts your mind severely.
Definitely. And I think they are both intertwined. And I'm at a bit of a crossroads, because I used to say fitness is a gateway drug. But then I've also argued with myself, because I always tend to question my beliefs, either to challenge them or strengthen them. So let's say, for example, we've got a client, and this client hasn't got their shit together at all. So they're not earning enough money. The relationships are poor. They've got hardly any time, or they don't prioritize themselves. Them getting in shape is going to be way more difficult than somebody who's got money, who's got a decent relationship, who's got time. So somebody who's pretty successful. So which one actually comes first? Because we see business owners with good relationships, good partners, plenty of money, plenty of time, that are fat and out of shape.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, you get people who are in really good shape but haven't got any of those. So which one actually comes first?
Well, for me, it was the health wealth relationship triangle was always the thing that I go to. So it's like, obviously, I always thought of it like spinning plates. So you've got 3 plates and you spin one, so you get your health on track, the other 2 start to suffer, your wealth starts to go down, your relationship, you're in the gym too much and you're not seeing your partner or whatever, like spin that plate. It's like, that's how I constantly saw it. So like, you are right in terms of like, if you can be like a dickhead but with a 6-pack. I love that phrase.
Yeah, you can. I've been there. I've been a dickhead with a 6-pack. But which one actually comes first?
What, in terms of which?
Having your shit together. Does having your shit together allow you to get in shape, or does getting in shape make you get your shit together?
I would say get in shape first. Get in shape and you get your shit together. Because if you have no energy, you're not going to be able to get your shit together. I think there's many paths to mastery and there's many paths to getting ahead, but I think if you start with the body and you start working on...
It's the lowest hanging fruit. It's the cheapest. It's the easiest.
It's not even the cheapest. Sometimes it's free.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything to go for a walk or a run.
Yeah.
It fucking sucks, but you can do it.
Yeah, definitely. So in terms of lowest hanging fruit, but then, like I said, it's the guys that I work with now a business owners, they've got everything apart from the health of suffering.
Yeah. And what is it? A healthy rich man has many problems, but a sick person only has one. It's like, if you are out of shape and sick, you get that handled first, and everything else sort of falls into place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what really gets you riled up with people's mindset? Where do you? Because obviously you coach a lot of people's mindset, and where do they come with you with problems? And they say, "Oh, da 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 da," and you're just like, "Are you fucking taking the piss?" Like, where do you?
Everyone's different. Everyone's different.
Is there anything specific that people come to you with, and you're just like, "I'm sick of hearing this. This is what you do."
I think it goes back to what we spoke about earlier, the motivation thing.
What like they say, they lack motivation.
Lacking motivation. Well, like I said, do you value what you say you value?
Mm-hmm.
If that is the case, we don't need to have a conversation about motivation. If it is a motivation issue, let's talk about what you value. Do you actually value what you say you value?
Mm-hmm.
Do you actually value your business? Do you actually value your health? Do you actually value your relationships?
Yeah.
Do your actions correspond with that? Because somebody who values those things,
mm-hmm.
they don't need to be motivated to improve those things. Let's talk about what you actually value. And it's okay to not value your health. It's cool. So let's stop wasting both of our times.
Yeah.
So that's probably for me it's what I get DMs about. I'm not motivated.
Yeah.
Cool, bro.
It's like, good luck.
Yeah, cool.
It's like, going back to the discipline thing as well, though. Like, a lot of people think I'm not motivated, but I can be disciplined. I think the missing piece is inspiration. I'm inspired to do something. I think a lot of people try and go down the discipline route, and they fucking hate it because it's tough, it's hard, it takes a lot of mental energy to be disciplined, and takes a lot of time. Motivation is fleeting, it comes and goes. But inspiration, like, I used to look at, I know this is a bit weird, but I used to have a picture on my iPod when I first started going to the gym, because I didn't have a fucking fancy phone, of Jason Statham.
Okay.
From what, like, stop laughing. So I used to have a picture of Jason Statham on the front of my iPod because he was my inspiration. I wanted his body, you know. He was lean, he was in shape, and that inspired me every time I opened my iPod to change a song, or whatever. I would see that. I wasn't motivated to do that. I was inspired, and I think that's where like a lot of people go wrong, is they don't, like, being inspired is such a different feeling to being motivated. I think. What's your experience? What do you think?
I'm going to challenge you here.
Okay.
Is inspiration not fleeting?
It is, but I think it's easier to start with that than trying to go for motivation. I think it's easier to be inspired than I think it is to get motivated.
Well, inspiration causes motivation. Motivation is movement, right? So you're inspired to move, to get the job done.
It's like a chain. It's like, it starts with inspiration, then you get motivated, then you get disciplined.
Yeah, but I think what overrides that is values. What do you truly value?
I think once you set the discipline in place, that kind of becomes your values then, I think, because you're like, that's what you hold yourself to. That's what it means to be disciplined, I think.
Yeah, but I do think asking the right question, for example, going back to getting in shape, okay?
Yeah.
Why do you want to get in shape? You know? Is it just to get girls? Or is there another reason? Really dig into that reason.
Well, I mean, you could, if it was me personally, if you're asking me personally, it's like, obviously, at the start, it's like, I want to be attractive to girls because girls like muscles. And then you start to realize, well, actually, I don't like myself. I don't like I don't like looking in the mirror and
Let's do an experiment now. So you're obviously into your fitness now, okay? Why do you value fitness?
At the minute, because it makes me feel good. I know that I'm probably going to live longer. I'm going to feel better about life, and I'm able to actually do things with my life because I know what it's like to have no energy. I know what it's like to be fucking depressed and not want to move. But now that I'm in routine and habit of doing it, and I just value it because I know what the alternative is. I think that's a powerful place to come from, is once you know what the alternative is, then you don't want to go back.
And why is that important that you don't go down the route of not having energy and being able to do something with your life?
Well, because for me, I've always wanted a little bit more out of life. I've always valued wanting to do more and be more. It's always something I've just had, like, a drive to do.
Why is that?
I don't know. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know whether it's because it could have came from maybe I felt inadequate in childhood. I've examined, maybe I didn't, because I was never cool, I was never popular, I was never, desirable. So, maybe there's a bit of insecurity there that's pushing me forward.
Why do you feel like you weren't desirable?
Just, I guess, the feedback I got. I was always butt of jokes. This is getting deep. I was always butt of jokes. I was never I never felt like anyone's best friend. I was just kind of just there, you know what I mean? For a long time. I mean, that changed, obviously, but I just think, there's a lot of things I wasn't listened to much as growing up by people. I didn't really have, people didn't value what I had to say. And I've said this before on this podcast many times. I think that's why I chat so much into microphones, because I'm like, someone needs to hear my voice,
Yeah.
But
why is it important to you that people value what you say?
I don't think it is. I think I do this more for me now. I don't think, if someone disagrees with me, they can disagree with me and it doesn't change my day. I'm not after trying to change people's minds. If it changes someone's mind, great. If what I say has value to someone's life, fantastic. I'm happy with that. But it's not something I typically set out to do these days. It used to be when I first started, but not anymore.
Okay, so looking at that, essentially what we've ascertained there is you want to be seen, you want to be taken seriously to some extent, because you felt the alternative, which was nobody give you any fucking attention.
Oh, yeah.
No one took it serious.
I'll admit that, yeah. I'm the first to admit that, yeah.
So one of your values could be, I want to be taken a little bit more serious.
But I also, with that value though, comes that I want other people to feel that way too.
Yeah.
So for me, like obviously, originally I started off just YouTube videos shouting down a microphone or whatever. Now that I get guests on, I'm like, you have value as well. I want you to be heard. I want people to hear what you have to say. And I'm honored to be a platform that can do that.
Yeah. So you want to champion other people?
Yeah, of course. There's no point in just being, oh, look at me. I'm like, there's people that know way more than me, that are way cooler than me, but that doesn't hurt. That doesn't affect me. Like if you've got a podcast, right? If someone goes away from this podcast and listens to more of your episodes or whatever, or loves yours more, that doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
I'm happy that they did that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's good. Like, it doesn't affect me in any negative way that you have a podcast. I'm like, yeah, go and listen to Imthiaz's podcast. Go check it out. Give it likes, subscribe, whatever,
Yeah, I think just looking at yourself in terms of your relationship with fitness is a case of...
Oh, bro, don't get me wrong. I still love donuts. I don't take it like very, very serious. I train, and I eat 90% well a lot of the time. But I'm not a serious, like, I'm not. I don't want a PT. I don't want to be on stage. I don't want to show. I very rarely take my top off for anything,
Yeah.
Like, I posted a picture on Instagram like twice in my life. You know what I mean? That's not for me to show off. I just do it for me now.
Yeah. I think...
But this is your episode, not mine, bro.
I know, I'm asking a silly question.
But I love it, no.
I think as a bloke, you go through that period as well. You go through that period where you're kind of insecure. And insecurity isn't a bad thing. I think people give insecure men a bad time, like it's some bad fucking thing. It's not, because if you were secure, you wouldn't do fuck all. If you were secure in every area of your life, you would not be driven enough to make a change.
Well, a lot of people, I think, going back to the mindset thing, I think a lot of people worry about doing things like this because they think people are going to laugh at them. I find everything I do hilarious. You know what I mean? Like, this is just so funny to me to do this.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane that I do this. And I sit and drive on the way here, I'm like...
Yeah,
I got a podcast.
I get this.
I have to find it funny, because then nothing can get. As soon as you start taking it like, not obviously I take it seriously as like I want the cameras to work, on the microphone, I want it to be good. But as soon as you start taking it too seriously, that's when I think you let other people's criticism in. You become like too fragile with it. But like when I made videos, I'm like, everything's funny to me. Everything's a joke.
I think once you realize it's not that deep. Nothing's that deep.
No one cares.
No one gives a fuck.
No one cares.
No one gives a fuck. The thing that any person cares the most about is themselves.
You know what's great? A lot of people say to me, they go, I've seen your podcast clips. I'm like, have you listened to a full clip or watched an episode? No. I'm like, cool. No worries. They just see it and they go, okay, it's cool. Like, no one's like following me that deeply. You know what I mean?
No one is. People got their own shit going on.
No one starts stalking me. Yeah. That's funny. So as someone who coaches mindset now, do you ever catch yourself saying, what am I doing? Who do I think I am? Like, is this it for me? Like, do you ever catch yourself having
I think it's a normal part of the human experience. If you aren't having those thoughts, you're not pushing hard enough. And if I'm not pushing hard enough, how can I ask anyone else to? That's why I do shit like this. This is why I'm concentrating on speaking in front of people. That's why I'm there to eradicate any sort of self-doubt that I've got.
Yeah.
Where I then prove to myself, give myself enough proof that, yo, you are that fucking guy. But then I'll pick another battle. Then I'll pick another level that I'm trying to get to. So you want to be around people and put yourself in scenarios that make you question if you're doing the right thing, if that makes sense.
I think if you don't question what you're doing, you're not doing enough.
You're playing it safe.
Yeah.
You're playing it safe. And that's where people men especially, that's why they're so miserable. They're so miserable.
Yeah.
Because they know there's another level to get to, whether it is the business, whether it is in the personal life or fitness, whatever it might be, just as a bloke. But because they don't want to feel inadequate, they don't bother. But in fact, that inadequacy is a signal that you're doing the right fucking thing.
I mean, I've had so many people on here who've got other podcasts, and I listen to them and go, fuck, that's better than mine. Their setup's better than mine. And I feel like that inadequacy hits that insecurity of like, well, I don't have the cool studio, but just going to keep doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it. Just turn up. Because you never know who prefers yours over theirs. Like, you're always biased. You know, you've always got your insecurities and they'll always come through, but just keep turning up is my remedy.
To insecurities. You should always listen to insecurities. If, like, for example, if you're insecure about your set or whatever it might be, or you have that thought, make your set better.
Yeah. Well, I was always told, what you can't fix, you feature. What you can't fix, you feature. I was always trying to, like, when I was starting to lose my hair, for example, comb over, try and hide it. No, I just started combing it back. I'm weird. Was I trying to be serious on camera? No, I'll just be weird on camera. It was like, what I couldn't fix, I featured. And you know what? The anxiety went away because I was just being me.
Stop giving a fuck.
Yeah.
There's power in that.
Yeah, like it's just, as soon as if you accept your insecurities or flaws, quote unquote, no one can use them against you. Someone says, well, you're losing your hair. So fuck. I know. You don't think I've looked in the fucking mirror? Do you know what I mean? It's like, as soon as it's like I've got a weird shaped nose, it's like, oh, cool, you know, like, you know, or you've got a bald patch, you know, it's things like that, like, or you skinny, or you short, whatever. That's like, as soon as you accept it and you just know it, no one can use it against you.
Exactly. It's the old Eminem thing where he comes, is it 8 Mile?
I haven't actually seen that, you know.
You've seen 8 Mile, innit? Yeah, so he comes on and he disses himself.
Yeah.
About him growing up on a trailer park and his mum being this, that, the other. And
Self-deprecating
anything that the guy's going to say, he knows it already and he says it before he says it.
Yeah.
It just takes away the other person's power.
So I want to move into obviously we touched briefly on the religious side of things. So we started going down a rabbit hole on the phone.
Yes, we did.
About stuff. So I will just say, I'm not I know you say the same, you're not a scholar
I'm
on
not
religion.
a scholar.
Yeah.
I can only talk about my own experience.
Yeah. I don't have a faith, you have a faith, but we're open to discuss it as, you know, as two guys. Just there's no, like, I'm not trying to offend anyone, and neither is Imthiaz. No one's gone on offense. We just want to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So you mentioned to me on the phone, and you did apologize, and I was like, you know what? Fair enough for saying it. You said you respect people more for having the faith than no faith.
Yeah.
So how can you explain that sort of that
because a faith gives you moral guidelines from which to live your life. Now, essentially, all faiths, like I said, I'm not a scholar. All faiths essentially give you a playbook. Okay?
Yeah.
And you have a set of rules, a set of standards, a framework as to how to live your life. Now, I'm convinced that there's no faith, if you follow it to the T, it will improve your life. Okay?
Okay.
Improve you as a human being. Now, the issue is with somebody who hasn't got a faith, for me, they are more likely to bend to their own desires and also have, how can I word this now? I don't even give a fuck about offending people. I'm just trying to find the right word. In my experience, they will jump on, in terms of their own standards and their values, they will bend on their own values when push comes to shove. Now, if you look at the most devout people on the planet, they will not bend on their values. When it comes to religion, they won't bend on their values because their religion teaches them to have certain standards in other areas of their life. Is it a coincidence that in the MMA world, in the UFC, that a lot of the fighters now are, the top fighters, should I say, are Muslim? Then the remainder of the top fighters are also devout Christians. So they follow a faith of some sort.
Okay, yeah.
Which keeps them on the straight and narrow. Is that a coincidence?
I think...
Is it a coincidence that motivational speakers like Tony Robbins talks about God?
I don't know. I think with Tony Robbins, my only gripe with Tony Robbins is it's a lot of feelings based stuff. It's like kind of amp you up and then you go away and feel good for a few days and then.
No, that's fine. I'm talking about him as an individual. I'm talking about him as an individual.
Okay.
Why does he relate it back to God? Because that's his
moral code.
Moral code, exactly.
Do you think? What about someone that just did have a moral code anyway. Like, I have a moral code. Like, some of my friends who aren't religious, they have a moral code. Do you think it's possible without religion you could stick to a moral code, or do you believe everyone
There's actually
will
been an
bend?
experiment done on this where they got people in off the street. They put a guy, a 6'6" guy, I think he was, in a white lab coat, and within 45 minutes, those people were willing to kill somebody else.
Really?
So what they did, they had a revolver with guns in there, with bullets in there. So that revolver with bullets in there, and they're talking this person up, but with sleight of hand, they remove the bullets, and the person pulled the trigger at the person sitting opposite them. Within 45 minutes. Within 45 minutes.
What did they say to them to make?
They were influenced, of course. I wasn't sure exactly what they did or what they said. Sorry, but they were influenced, because I've looked at influence and suggestibility and all these sorts of things. I've looked at how cults are created, etc. They were able to influence these people to do bad things
within 45
within
minutes.
45 minutes.
I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna obviously I haven't seen the study, but I don't know whether I could be convinced to kill someone in 45 minutes. I mean,
until it fucking happens.
I'd like to think, I mean, you always like to think that if you were put in that situation, how would you respond to that? And I would like to think that if someone was like, it's either you or this other person, it's like, that's a rock and a hard place, isn't it? It's a moral dilemma. It's a grey area. But are you saying that if you had religion, it wouldn't be a grey area? It would be, okay, I'm gonna follow this code kind of thing.
Yeah. What does my religion tell me? That's what you're gonna fall on, right? And because you haven't got that safety net or that thing holding you together or that rope to hold on, that's the best way to put it. You're way more likely to stray. Or way more likely to bend on what you believe in that. Well, before that moment happened, are your values.
It's an interesting one. This is why I wanted to get into this with you, because I'm interested. How do you view other religions?
I think if you look at the world,
because obviously, like you said, you respect people with
I do respect people with religions, and I'm not a model Muslim, okay, at all, by any stretch of the imagination. But what I will say is, you can go and talk shit about Jesus, and nothing will happen. In fact, the only people who will truly kick off, are Muslims. You say something about our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, people aren't going to stand for it.
Yeah,
right.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So, in terms of, once again, bending it, like if you look at Christianity, I'm not slating Christianity. I have friends who are Christian, and I do value Christians, and I do see them as brothers. But what I will say is Christianity as a whole in the West has been used and indoctrinated to control people. So people will come in and change the Bible. This is a common fact. The Bible from back in the day is not the same Bible that we know now.
Okay.
Because it's been changed. Okay. When different rulers came in, they've changed it. Okay. So that's commonly accepted amongst Christians.
Okay.
It's commonly accepted. So this isn't the scripture that was sent down. Okay. So what does that tell you?
Well, that it could be changed for someone else's will.
Yeah, for somebody's reason, somebody's motive, okay? Whereas the Quran, bear in mind it came down to us 1400 years ago, has not been changed. And there's a saying, you could burn every single Quran on the planet, but it will never be destroyed because people memorize it. It lives in the hearts and the brains of human beings. And that has not been changed. So this is my issue with Christianity. There's other religions, I'm sure, as well, where they've changed with the times, whereas Islam hasn't, and that's why it is demonized nowadays, because these people are just, stuck to what they believe in, and because the times have changed, and people don't get it.
So you don't think it's necessary to change it with the times?
No. I mean, what does Islam teach? I mean, in the media, Islam gets a bad rap.
That was one of my next questions, is why do you think that is?
Because something that contradicts somebody else's way of life will be demonized. When in Islam, women are meant to dress modestly, okay? In the modern day and age, you turn on your Instagram, there's just naked women everywhere.
What you been looking at my Instagram for, bro?
Huh?
Why you been looking at my Instagram?
It's mad. But are you with me?
Yeah, I am.
So, people are going to argue that that's oppressive. You know, asking women to dress modestly is oppressive.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. Let's look at it from another angle. There's a girl tonight, it's Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
in a town centre, probably at 3 a.m, drunk, wearing hardly anything, freezing her tits off to impress men.
Do you think that is the sole reason? I feel like people would object to that reason.
Oh, I'm doing it for myself.
I mean, there's always...
Does that really stand?
There's always... I know what you mean.
Does that really stand?
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
If there were no men...
Would women still dress like that?
Yeah. If there no men didn't exist, would women still dress like that? No. No, they wouldn't. Because women, their value does come from their beauty, whether we like it or not. Okay? It's a harsh reality.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see guys who may have a beautiful partner and they'll parade him.
Oh yeah, men do value
It's a
beauty 100%.
It's a flex in it. And the same way, women value certain attributes and traits in men.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why men want to become powerful, they want to become fit, they want to be capable, they want to have money.
Oh, yeah. Status.
Exactly. So, men are attracted to beauty, fact. Women are attracted to status, fact. Don't give a fuck what anyone says.
I would agree with that.
Yeah?
I wouldn't say it's always top of the mind, but I would say it's a subconscious thing that does run a lot of people.
It's innate. It's part of nature.
Psychology, yeah.
Yeah. Women want to be protected. They want to be provided for, so they can bear children. Ultimately, it's biology. And then men, obviously, are attracted biologically to beautiful women.
There was
And I don't know why people lose their fucking minds when you say that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I do not know why people lose their minds.
I mentioned it several times on the show that there is studies done that there is a genuinely specific like hip to waist ratio on women that men prefer.
Yeah.
And then there's also a shoulder to waist ratio that women prefer on men. And these studies show I think it was Dr. David Buss did a study on cultures around the world.
Yeah.
Like, this is a universal thing. But it's not a bad thing to have a preference in that regard. And
Exactly.
it's not a bad thing to say that because it is in you, whether you like it
Just
or not.
just going back to the point on women and clothing and whatnot. So knowing that is a universal law, okay, what tends to happen is women then start to wear less and less clothes, and the only thing that they move towards offering is their beauty, and that's why we've got the rise of OnlyFans and so on and so forth. Because without that, there wouldn't be a market for it.
Okay, right, I'm following. Yeah, it's an interesting one because I think that obviously, I mean, Geordie women are a different breed altogether. Especially
I've never experienced one.
No. Mate, they're a different breed of creature. Not in a nasty way, but it's like it could be snowing and they'd be out in short shorts and a bra, and it would not faze them in the slightest. Do you know what I mean? But I mean, it's an interesting point that you bring up whether or not they would do it if men didn't care about beauty. But I think in the same way we do things to impress women that we probably don't, we don't think about as much,
No, we do 1,000,000%. So that is a fact.
So obviously the point was it comes across as like oppressive on women that they have to dress modestly. How modestly are we talking, and what does your culture say about modesty? How did you define that?
So it's what
are we talking like full covering? Are we talking like just don't have your boobs out? Like
So chronically, so your head's covered, and your aura, which is basically the shape of your body. Are you with me?
So you can't see a visual outline, right?
Yeah. So that's what it says chronically. However, if you go to the extreme, women walk around in bikinis. Are you with me? On the other side, so if we took that away, if we took the bikinis away, if we took away the beauty on a lot of women nowadays who do the OnlyFans stuff and stuff like that, what else have they got to offer, really? What else have they got to offer?
Well, I mean, obviously, you're initially attracted as a man to a woman's beauty, but you go deeper and you like, what are they like as a person? Because obviously, I had an OnlyFans model on here who's a highly intelligent woman, wants to run her own business, runs her own business very well, and it's like, obviously, she doesn't participate with men on this OnlyFans. It's just her, and that's her choice. And I'm like, I'm for it if she wants to do that. She understands that there will be consequences to it. There's people that aren't a fan of what she does, and it might impact. But she's all right with that, and you know,
has she got children?
She doesn't. No.
Not surprised.
I mean, she might. I don't know what she wants in the future.
No, but I'm saying she hasn't, has she?
No, not really. I think she's a little bit younger than me, actually. But yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not surprised. And even when if she does choose to have kids, like...
Well, we talked about that off air, because I was like, is it something that you know, your kids that might find this out in future and stuff like that, and are you willing to pay that sort of consequence to that? And again, it was like, this is the road she's chosen. She'll face that when she comes to it.
Interesting.
Yeah. Obviously, in England, we said the bad reputation thing about Muslims. Is there anything else that you can give that you think that what gives them a bad reputation? Yeah, we hear the news. You know, you get the extremists and things like that,
like the terrorists and the extremists, and.
But a lot of Muslims I've met are very hardworking, kind people. It's like there's like an extreme that ruin it for.
Yeah, I mean
the majority.
Yeah, it's a case of, look, you can get a guy who's white, who's born in the UK. And he can go into school and fuck some people up, and he'll have mental health. Then you can have a guy in the same scenario, but he's Muslim. He's all of a sudden a terrorist. Now, I'm not saying these people, both scenarios, have done anything to be proud of. This, they should both be, in my opinion, put to death. Yeah, they should be for people like that, nonces, rapists, those sort of people. There should be capital punishment. But it's when you see somebody of an ethnic minority or religion, you tie the crime to the religion or the ethnicity.
Yeah,
instead of the person.
That. Yeah,
but that's the issue.
Like, they don't represent the full community.
Nah, man. Nah, because I've had it before. You know, when people made slurs and stuff like that, or they're uneducated a lot of the time.
Yeah,
and it is down to the media, what the media is pushing, and it's easy. Like I'm from Stoke, and remember when the riots went on?
Yeah.
It went off. It went off massively. And, you know, we were outside the mosque protecting the mosques. We weren't out there causing trouble. The only people out there causing trouble were I don't know if it was the EDL or whoever it was, okay?
Yeah.
Those sorts of people. So, it's what's pushed on the media. Whatever's pushed on the media is seen to be true by a lot of people. The question needs to be asked is, who's pushing the narrative on media? Who's pushing that narrative? That's the real issue.
I think we like to have someone to blame. We like to have a box to put them in a reason behind someone's actions. Like, I remember, obviously, whether or not you like him or hate him is obviously Andrew Tate. So there was a guy.
So people ask me about Andrew Tate a lot. You've got to understand with Andrew Tate, he is in it for the money. Simply, he's in it for the money because he become Muslim and then he's still living like a dickhead. So really, bro, what are you doing? You know, you'll say one thing one week and then the next week you'll say something else. I understand what he's saying. Men, in terms of men, should be better. They should. Yeah,
I like that message.
But if you look at him as an individual, he's all about money and he's all about putting himself out there.
Yeah,
you know, and becoming famous.
He's always said in interviews he wanted to be famous, but
and he's done that very well. So you've got to call it for what it is.
Yeah, he's done very well. But I mean, I don't know how much I believe these allegations. We'll see. But the point I was going to make was there was a guy, I can't remember what he did. I can't remember if he was a school shooter or he attacked someone or something like that. But they basically said because they called him this. It was like the headline was like Andrew Tate fan does da-da-da. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it was like each search for him on YouTube, and they were like, it was like sort of like 90% of the guys in this country. Yeah. I was like, can you really blame Andrew? But do you know what I mean? It's like they group them together, you know? They use words like incel and all that stuff to group them all together. And I was like, this is just one guy with serious mental health issues who did a terrible thing. Can you really blame his actions on Andrew Tate of all people? It's like...
You can't... The thing is with that sort of stuff, taking you, Adam, somebody, if you were to do something that was a bit fucked, they could then pinpoint it on something that happened earlier in your life or an experience or something that you watched. Easily done. Easily done. But you can never really tie that sort of thing with an individual, a religion. The person's done what they've done.
Yeah.
As a person. It's how you deal with that person is the issue. Because when it comes back to, you know, people who've killed people, these rapists, these nonces. Look at these fucking nonces, yeah? If you look at the BBC, those motherfuckers get away with murder.
We said this many times in the show about the BBC stuff, yeah.
Imagine if that was the same thing is done by an Asian guy in up north. It's completely different. So there isn't a blanket sort of policy when it comes to any human being. It does matter what colour you are. It doesn't matter what religion you are. It doesn't matter what you're watching. All these things matter. And based off that, depending on the narrative that they're trying to push, they'll punish you accordingly.
Yeah, you'll be used as an example.
Is that a just system?
No.
It's fucking not.
No.
It's not.
It's like I said, a lot of Muslims I've met are hardworking, nice kind of people. They don't bother people. They don't believe in the extremist views. It's just, but we love to put people in boxes. We love to just be like, oh, well, they're the bad guys, they're the good guys. It's like, no, there's a huge grey area that people are missing. But people don't like the nuances of this kind of conversation. Like this, for some people, will be an uncomfortable.
I've had it before, man. I've been like back in the day. I've been on a session where you're right for a packy. You are. What the fuck do you mean?
Gee, wow.
No, but I get it. I get it because they've been sheltered. They've never met anyone before, and they're like...
They just have this preconceived notion.
Yeah, like, this guy's going to be fucking nuts or some fuck knows.
How do you respond to something like that, though?
Yeah, I am.
Does it boil your blood?
Well, I am a packy. When it comes down to it...
But it's said in a way that...
In a derogatory way, it's like the same thing what you said. Oh, you're bald, and you're right, and...
I suppose you could put it that way. But there's a lot more connotations to what they would say to you than just, you losing your hair. There's a bit more of like, it could go further. It could be like I don't know, what do you call it? Like a racially heated thing.
Race has never bothered me. Race has never bothered me. It's never been an insecurity of mine. Ever. Because a lot of people will say, I didn't get this opportunity. I've said it before. I didn't get this opportunity, or I've had it hard because of my colour, because of my religion. Cool. You can either be right about that, or you can win. I'd rather win.
Yeah.
I would rather fucking win. Irregardless of where I grew up, my postcode, my nationality, my religion, anything. I don't give a fuck. I've said it a million times before.
Yeah.
Because it can keep you in a box.
It's... Religion for me has always been... I love the idea of it. I believe it's called agnostic rather than atheist. It's not that I don't believe that there's nothing out there. For me, I've always thought religion was... if you imagine a group of people who, like you said, have no moral code and they're just running rampant and there's nothing to unite them. If you give them something that unites them, like a moral code...
It's not even unite. If you look at Dubai, crime rate, fuck all.
Yeah.
Why?
Religion. Moral code. But what I'm saying is like, for me, it's like, just because obviously a moral code is a strong thing. I think everyone should have a moral code, whether you're religious or not, right? But for me, I was always looked at religion as, it's a moral code that gives people hope and faith, but also stops people being terrified of death. Because obviously,
yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because if everyone was just like running around being existential and had no moral compass, can you imagine the chaos? So for me, I'm like, religion makes sense in a way, especially like if I go back thousands of years, it makes sense to have something that unites people under a common moral code, a common belief, but also stops them thinking, oh my God, I've got this one life, I'm gonna die. It stops them panicking. Yeah. So for me, I think that works. I don't know how much I view it and take it into account in the modern day. Like for me, it was kind of like whenever I think of religious things, I think of quite old-timey traditions and things like that. But I do think it does play a part in today's society, and I know obviously you will as well. So
yeah, if you look at statistically, in terms of depression and suicide rates, the countries and the place in the world with the lowest suicide rates and rates of depression are religious countries.
Well, religion, it's a comfort as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a comfort, but I think you touched on an important point there in regards to knowing that bringing comfort to death, not fearing death. Speaking from my own viewpoint, I've been very aware of death since a young age, which sounds a bit macabre.
No, I get it. I've been the same.
To the extent where, so you've heard the call to prayer, the adhan, yeah? So you might have heard it on movies or when you go into a Muslim country or Turkey or somewhere. It sounds like a song to most people.
Oh, okay. Well, it's where everything turns off. And
yes.
Yeah,
okay.
I remember that Turkey, yeah.
So the only prayer that hasn't got a call at the time of prayer is the funeral prayer. Do you know when that's given? At birth.
Okay. Tell me more about that, because I don't know this.
So the funeral prayer, the adhan for the funeral prayer, is given at birth. So what that is saying is, from the moment you are born, be aware of your death. And that's why I've been aware, and all Muslims are aware of death. And a comfortable death. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Even with my son, I give the call to prayer in his ear when he was born. So at the time of his funeral, there won't be or any Muslim funeral, there's no adhan, there's no call to prayer, because it's
That's
given.
Interesting.
It's that acceptance.
Yeah, I'm not scared to die as long as I've lived my life. Because obviously, with having no faith, we don't know what's next. And I like to say, one of us is right about what happens after we die, but by the time we get there, it doesn't matter. One of us will be right in the end, but by then it'll be too late. So for me, I'm like, maybe I said to you on the phone, I know a lot of people who hit like 35 and then find religion. It awakens something in them. And you asked me, you said, like, do you feel called to anything? And I said, I feel like there's something, but I'm not quite sure what yet. So I could look back in this in 5 years' time and go, actually, I was totally wrong about all this. Like, I should have had a faith.
Possibly.
It's possible.
Don't leave it too late.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best. So we talked a little bit about the dynamics of men and women. I know this was something that you wanted to get into. Now, a lot of, I did a quick Google and an Instagram search on the beliefs of, there's a few things on the beliefs of Muslims that like are controversial in terms of men and women. Like we touched on, like the oppressive side and things like that. Where do you stand on the dynamics of modern men and women, and also where do you bring your religion into play?
In terms of, if you look at the state of society in the West, because I've grown up in the West, I live in the West, I live in the UK, I love the UK.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you look at the decline, as it were, and we're looking at suicide rates, crime, murder, etc., usage of drugs.
Are we talking about suicide rates of both men and women?
Yeah.
In that regard? Okay.
Yeah. They've steadily increased. Things have steadily got worse. And that's one factor is tied to religion. And the other factor is tied to the dynamic between men and women. And what is happening, like your grandparents lived here, right? What is their relationship? What was their relationship like? What is their relationship like?
From what I'm a bad example for that, because my actual grandparents all passed before I was born.
No way.
But I was I called my mum's auntie and uncle my grandparents, because they helped raise her when she lost her mum quite young.
Yeah.
But they were, I mean, it's hard to say. It would look loving, like a house, like a nice little household. They took care of each other. They spent time together. I guess you could say it was quite wholesome, really.
Yeah. So society functioned better when the family unit was still together. You with me? Now, why did this family unit stay together? Because men and women had specific gender roles. Now, obviously, as time's gone on, more has been expected of women, and at the same time, more has been expected of men. In terms of women are expected to work now. I'm not saying women shouldn't work. If they want to work, they should work. They can work, okay? Yeah. But then they've also been put in a position, because of the financial system, if you want to have a household, both of you need to work.
Yeah.
If you want to have a certain standard of living that the media's been pushing, the holidays, certain car, you're not really worth anything, or you haven't got any sort of status unless you've got this sort of car, you've been on this holiday, or you live in this sort of house. That's been pushed.
Yeah.
That's been pushed.
I also think with that though, so I've had a thought on this. So I always thought it was all about the flash car, the big house, whatever. Be impressive as a man, wear suits and be really muscly and stuff like that. And that's what women, you ask them on these, you see these shows where they're like, what do you want in a man? They're like, oh, we're 6 foot and makes this amount of money. And And a lot of us are taking that to heart, right? But if you actually look at what women actually go with, it's bullshit. It's like, watch what people, what they say they do.
No, it's not bullshit.
A lot of the time.
No, because the guy who ends up with him is that guy. But the guys that they go with up until they meet that guy is a 6 foot, is that guy.
Oh, you mean like the one they settle down with versus the one that they have?
So they call it settling for a fucking reason. Women end up with a man, majority of the time, that they settle for the man in the end.
Do you think
they don't end up with the man that they want?
Do you think men also settle for a woman like that?
They have to. They have to some extent, unless you are the guy who's doing really well, who is in that top 10, 15, 20%.
Most men will never get there, though. I don't think.
Does that mean you should stop trying?
No, it should. I think my personal view is I think there's a lot of debate on this. I mean, have you seen the TV show Adolescence?
No.
I know you don't watch TV, but in the TV show Adolescence, there's this idea that they bring up, that's the 80-20 rule, which is like 80% of the women are attracted to 20% of the men. Mm-hmm. And then it goes down this whole incel route, this involuntarily celibate route, right? And I'm also like, okay, so there was a book produced called Dataclysm, which was done by some big C something O of eHarmony. Mm-hmm. And they looked at the statistics from dating sites. And they did find that 80% of men are deemed unattractive to women. But that's not reflective of real life. That's reflective of dating sites. And people forget this. People take these statistics way out of context. But it doesn't mean that because you're not attractive on a dating site, you're not attractive as a person. Mm-hmm. But we're taking this to heart. Like, as a man, like, you can see that and go, well, fuck women, like, screw them, like, they're high standards, I'll never. Or you can go, why don't I just try and make my life better? Why don't I
just become better?
Why exactly? And you might not become in this top 10% that we keep talking about, but at least you'll benefit society a little bit more. You'll benefit your future partner, you'll benefit your future kids, and benefit yourself because you're in better shape, you make more money, you feel better, you think better. It's like there are two ways to go with that statement, and I think it's healthier if you, as a man, take full charge of your life and actually try and make it better and not blame women.
It's exactly that. People hear those stats and think, oh, fuck it. And I know so many guys that are single, they've got normal jobs, and that's absolutely fine. Like, if you've got a manual labor job nowadays, people don't want to fucking know. Mm-hmm. People don't want to know unless you're running your own company or whatever. Those guys are in the pubs on a Friday night after they finish work, on the packet, and drinking, and they're severely fucking depressed.
Yeah, and I also don't think they are relationship material. I mean, they might be nice guys, they might be lovely blokes, but, like, is that the standard of relationship you want? Like, we are in an epidemic now of divorces are 70% of the time initiated by women. Mm-hmm. So what does that tell you about men? Does it tell you that women's standards are raising? Maybe, but it does tell you that men's standards are also lowering for themselves.
I do agree with that. I do agree. Men are more to blame because they do sabotage themselves in that extent with that sort of behavior. Mm-hmm. You know, drinking, going out, and not really developing.
Yeah,
are you with me? In terms of for women now, you've got to think that men are easily accessible, easy to get. You know.
Oh yeah.
Any woman can put a picture up on Instagram or whatever bit of social media, and her DMs are gonna blow the fuck up. Okay. Whereas, and that's the majority of women. They'll get somebody. Okay. If you're a guy, that ain't happening.
No, you get no DMs.
You're getting fuck all. You're getting fuck all. So the disparity there is purely because men are expected to be providers and protectors, as always, emotionally available, really sensitive, and do everything else. And then women are expected now to work and be a bit more masculine and be in charge.
I heard a quote that was saying that women are becoming the men that they want. And I was like...
Yeah.
It made me think that. I was like,
And then you look at women now in the later 30s and early 40s, in terms of how many women of that age bracket are single, is ridiculous. And without kids is ridiculous. Now, that's their own personal preference, and they're going to say, yeah, I'm happy with the life I'm living, which is cool. But then what does that do for society?
It leaves us at a bit of a crossroads.
Yeah.
It's funny, like, women can say we don't need a man, and it's true, they don't need a man because they could just buy a gun. If they're worried about the protection, they just buy a fucking Glock, you know. Yeah. But like, they can want someone in their life. They don't need someone now. It's different. Like you said with the gender roles, it made sense when we were hunter gatherers. It made sense when we were like, you know, we were going to die pretty easily. Now we've got such an easy life. We don't have that encouragement anymore. We don't have that desire. We can go off on our own if we want, unless, like you said, religious moral codes.
Yeah, and I think that's probably one of the main reasons. That disparity is one of the main reasons for the breakdown and the decline of the UK, because people don't know where the fuck they stand. People don't know what they're meant to be doing, and that disparity and that confusion between the two genders. Like, there's two fucking genders, bro. There's two genders, isn't it?
I was wondering whether that might pop up.
Yeah, like that in itself has caused this fucking confusion. Like, you can wake up on a Monday and be a bloke, and you can go to bed and wake up on Tuesday and decide to be a woman. What the fuck, bro? Like really, what the fuck?
Have you seen that meme where it's like a quote from it's a clip from a film where it's like a transgender patient wakes up wakes up with dementia in a nursing home, and it's like this guy sweating in his eyes like, "Where's my cock?" It's just like, it's so stupid.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. that is being pushed. That's been pushed, And once again, throw that into the mix.
You mentioned to me about the bending of the rules, like not standing for, like, it's like embracing sort of everything. Do you think that's is that what you're hitting at with the collapse kind of the UK?
Yeah, because tolerance. What is tolerance? Like, people say, talk about, let's be tolerant. Okay, does that go for rapists as well? Does that go for nonces?
Weren't they trying to put paedophiles into like a mental health? They were like, do you know what I mean? They were trying to do something like that, weren't they?
They plead mental health.
Yeah.
They plead nonces plead mental health, and it was like, I think at one point they were trying to say, it's a sexuality preference.
Yeah, it's. No.
But that's the most twisted. Fucking
it
thing
is. It's.
Are you with me? If it's up to me, they should be killed. They should be. That's it. And once again, where do you draw the fucking line? Where do you stop? What you tolerate is going to determine how things end up. Are you with me? So, where do you draw the line? How do you actually want things to be? How do you want the reality that we're living in to manifest? And it comes down to what you accept. That's what it comes down to. So,
yeah.
If people really give a fuck about suicide, people really give a fuck about crime, if people really give a fuck about women being depressed and women's suicide being at a high.
With the rates of suicide, though, I think obviously men's is higher, but women actually attempt suicide more. Men just seem to be better at fulfilling it, which is a strange statistic to know.
Women tend to take prescription drugs because they cry for help. People are going to disagree with me on that, and that's what tends to happen, because they just want attention, they just want to be loved, they want to be taken note of by somebody, and they'll go prescription drugs because they know it's easier to reverse. A guy will go hang himself. I had a friend, Wackass, God rest his soul, he threw himself off a multi-story car park and killed himself. That's how men tend
That's
to
how
do.
men are doing it, yeah.
Men tend to do something.
They're putting guns in their mouths and hanging. Yeah.
Whereas women tend to do it, or attempt it, with prescription drugs and so on and so forth. But really, it's a cry for help. With the man, he will not cry for help and just go through with it. And it's sad. But why is it happening? Why is this happening on both sides? Is because they don't see their place in society.
Yeah.
They feel like they've got no value. And one of the areas where you feel valued is an intimate relationship. When you've got men who are not seen as to have status,
high status,
or
high value man, that's it.
Or have value.
Alpha.
When you've got more and more of these, we're really just normal blokes, man. They're just normal guys. And then women's standards are getting higher and higher. What does this guy fucking do? Where does he fit in?
I think I said this to you as well. I think it's just a case of playing the game better as a man. I think it's all you can do.
That's all you can do. That's all you can do.
If you can sit on the internet and you can moan about women's preferences, you can slag off whoever you want, but it will get you 0% further.
The rules of the game is set. Women prefer certain shit. Okay, they expect certain things. Just be better at the game.
Be a better man. Yeah.
Get in shape. Get your shit together. Learn how to fight. Do all these things. You'll be in a much better position. you'll be in a much better position.
How do you think the modern man, like obviously, just obviously you mentioned a few things, but how do you think the modern man should behave? How do you think he should go about his life? If you had to kind of summarize that.
In what situations?
Like how if you obviously, do you say you've got a son, right?
Yeah.
How are you going to raise him? What values? Obviously, you got
My
values
primary
of religion,
focus.
but like,
People say, "Oh, I'm doing this for my kids. I'm doing this for my family." My focus is on me, because it's not what I say to Zach; it's what he sees. So my main focus is making myself better.
lead by example.
Exactly, because I can say to him, "Oh, go to the gym," or make sure you go into football practice, or so on and so forth. He's not at that age yet, but you get the drift. But if I'm a fat cunt, it's not going to land. Yeah. It's not going to land.
He's going to follow in that footsteps.
He needs to believe in me first.
Yeah.
He needs to believe in me before he can start to believe in himself.
Yeah.
So that's where it starts. You've got to look inwards. Every man needs to look inwards. They need to improve on themselves. Their main focus should be themselves. And by default, if they're doing that, everything else will benefit.
Yeah.
Your missus, your kids, your parents, everyone else will benefit. And it is multifaceted. It is about your health. It is about your finances. It is about your time management and making time. Okay, it is about the relationships that you've got.
Mm-hmm.
It's everything. It's everything. It's about your environment, the environment that you're creating because of who you are. All these things matter. So improve those, and those things can be controlled. But once again, because of this 80-20 rule, whatever's come out, a lot of guys just lose hope, man.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw a statistic that it was like there was a guy did an experiment. He swiped on Tinder 1 million times and went on 2 dates. 1 million times.
How long was he there for?
I can't remember how long this was for.
He definitely hasn't got a job.
But
He's definitely not got a job.
Got one of them little parrot bird things that just swipes through.
He should just gone to the gym.
But it was crazy though. But like we don't go up to people anymore and say, "Hey, how's your night going?" Or like, "Can I buy you a drink?" Although I don't personally like that line, But it's like we've lost touch with other humans. All we think of is this online world. Like we were saying about this high value man alpha podcast. Like I love these musics. Like every guy with a podcast, and he's like sat going, if you don't make 100K a year, you're a fucking. It's like no, like most people will not make that per year. Most people will not meet these social media standards. But does it mean they're not going to meet anyone? It does if they believe it. It's seeping into our mentality that we're not. If we're not making 100K, we don't drive a Lamborghini, we're not the Andrew Tates of the world, then we're nothing. But it's not true.
It's not the case, but the thing is, tell that to a woman.
But most women, I believe, personally know that. But it's like...
Do they?
It's like... if
Do they really? Or are they hoping that they meet somebody like that?
Oh yeah, are you not hoping to meet like a stunning, like, would you not love to have a stunning partner and who does everything that you desire? Of course you do. But
not if she's incapable of being able to raise children and have.
Oh well, yeah, you've got your own preferences.
So
Yeah.
this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying to you. It goes a bit deeper than that. Mm-hmm. It goes deeper than that. Whereas now everything's on face value, and people will be with somebody who can't do the basics away from. Obviously, somebody can have money, they can be in shape and all the rest of it. But if they're a scumbag, they'll still be with them until they find out the hard way. They'll spend a few years, waste their fucking life, and then they'll end up with Joe Blogs. They'll end up with the average guy who settles and has to deal with all the shit and all the trauma and all the fuckery that's gone on with this woman, and just have to deal with it for the rest of his life. And because she's beautiful, he'll just put up with it. Fuck that.
I've heard I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I know there's a lot of guys that keep saying you don't want to be with, I hate the number scale, but you don't want to be with a 9 or a 10. Because
my dad told me that, he goes, get with the 7 and marry her. I swear to God.
Do you know what? Like, as weird as that sounds, and as like bro culture as that sounds, I kind of get it though. I kind of get it, because it's like
the most beautiful women get treated the worst.
In terms of what way?
Just in general. If you're really attractive, think about. I mean, I empathise to some extent, because think of a girl in the UK who's pretty from the time she leaves school to the time she starts a family. Mm-hmm. Majority of the time, because she has so much attention, she'll go for the jock, as it were.
The cheerleader and the jock. Right? Yeah.
get treated like shit, and then try it again and again and again, and realize the jock's not the one. Are you with me? But by that point, they're damaged on such on an emotional level that somebody else has to pick up the pieces.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. I think with men as well, obviously, if you take the example of the jock who peaked in secondary school and high school and then is still the same douchebag and thinks it works into his 30s and has made nothing with his life versus someone like who was maybe the bully victim in school who actually went out and made something with his life, he's going to come out on top in the end.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's the difference between the female and the male experience. You must have heard the analogy before. The woman starts at the top of the mountain and she can only fall. A man starts at the bottom of the mountain and he can only climb.
I've heard that before, yeah.
And that's so true. That's so true. Unless the woman is protected.
Protected in
terms of her... In terms of her making poor decisions, in terms of what she values, in terms of her having the right morals and standards, and being brought up in a manner where she truly valued what a good man is, not the six figures and all the rest of it. However, if you haven't got those things in this day and age, you're not in the dating pool. You're not seen as, what's the word?
Worth it, almost.
Worth it, basically, yeah.
Like I said, I believe that most women out there will, like, I don't like the term settle, but I get it. It's the word we would use. I don't think that most women, they can say, there's actually, weirdly, guys, if you go away and do this, there's actually a thing online called the female delusional calculator.
Okay.
Sounds crazy, right? But basically, it's an American thing. Mm-hmm. You put in, you pretend you're a woman, you put in what height you like, what income you want, and then like race.
No way.
And it'll tell you the percentage of how many men are in
that category.
How many men and it's ridiculously small. It's like, I think if you want someone that was like 6'1", made over 100K a year and was, let's just say white or whatever, it's like 0.75% of the American population. Something stupid like but it's like not every guy's over 6 foot. The average male height is 5'8".
I'm 5'10" on a good day.
I wear boots for that reason. It makes me 5'9".
But even then, like, if you're a guy and you get called short, bro, that's like a
short king. That's what they call it now.
Are you with me?
But I also think these standards that are portrayed online, just to sort of round this bit, the standards that are portrayed online, I don't believe most people take into account. They think about.
You've got to remember, where do people spend a lot of their time? They live in the digital world.
Yeah, that's why I think we're causing relationship breakdowns. But I also think there was an interesting point actually. Andrew Tate actually said, he was like, imagine in your grandparents' day and age, right? You fell in love with a girl, she broke your heart and left. You never saw her again. You couldn't go on Instagram and stalk her life. You couldn't go on Instagram and DM 6 other girls to fix your broken heart. You just had to let her go and live her life. You never knew what she did again. He was like, how much more would you love her if you knew you would never be able to just replace someone like that? And I was like, that's a fucking interesting point.
It's different.
It's like, how much effort would you put in that relationship if you couldn't just replace
everything's
someone?
just replaceable nowadays. You break that mug, you can order one on Amazon straight away. Same goes for relationships, because it is that easily accessible, because there's no actual legwork that needs to go into it. Human beings on both sides, in both genders, are disposable. And it's a case of try before you buy nowadays. And that's what's happening. Whereas before, it was, right, I'm committed to this person. I'm going to live the rest of my life with them. And all commitment means is the elimination of any other option. That's what commitment is. So people used to get married at 18, 19, commit to that age, and spend the rest of their lives together. Whereas now, because you are bombarded, and eyes do wander, and people do live a lot of their lives on social media and in the digital world, it's become that much more of a cesspit.
Yeah. Everyone's replaceable. You just
yeah.
What was that Beyonce song where she's like, "Get another you in a minute" kind of thing? It's
like,
okay,
and
cool.
That's the reality of the world. That's the reality of the world. Is it going to change? Probably not. Is it going to change? Is that going to change? Where we are? Probably not. So what is the solution? The only solution is for men to improve their fucking standards. That is the only thing. If women are demanding more things or expect more of a man, be that fucking man then. Across the board. And when you said about not everyone's going to earn 100k, cool. That's fair enough. But if you choose to believe that, then you're also admitting that you will never.
I see what you mean. Yeah, I'll never make 100k. So what's
because if you look at statistically, if you were to divide all of the money in the UK by everybody individually, everyone would be a fucking millionaire. Just get your piece of the pie, bro.
But I also think, on the back of that, I think if you spread spread money evenly across the UK, the money would end up back in the same place as it started, with the same people.
No, it wouldn't. So this is the whole Gary Stevenson thing. Back in the day, everybody was an entrepreneur. If you were selling cows and I was selling tomatoes, it would take me 2 truck worths of tomatoes to get 1 cow. Okay, that's entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But the argument that you may have been trying to make is not everyone's going to get there, so you shouldn't really try. Well, that's what Gary Stevenson says.
Oh no, I wouldn't know. What I believe is that there is. If you spread the money evenly across the UK, everyone had the same thing.
No,
there are some people who don't have the mindset to reaccumulate that money.
Well,
they
get
would
the
just
fucking
spend
mindset. Get the skills.
That's what I mean, though. But if you just did that now as a thought experiment, if you gave everyone the same amount of money,
the first thing you do is give them the skills. If you were to upskill the male population and make them entrepreneurial and help them create something, think of an idea and pull it out of thin air and actually create it, then that disparity would disappear to some extent. If you could, I don't know, start researching a new digital product or some new thing.
Some AI thing,
Yeah. And you created that in the next 5 years and you could sell that, you'd probably make more than just having a job, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah?
Of course.
And then you could also trade it with somebody else or link up with somebody else or collaborate with somebody else to make the pie bigger, right? Why can't we do that anymore?
Do you mean like make everyone sort of entrepreneurial?
Yeah.
I don't think that would work because it would just be chaos because you'd have no one that would just run things. Everyone would want to run their own business and everyone would be. I think what I mean by the money would end up in the same pocket is some people are not wired to be entrepreneurs. I'm not wired to be an entrepreneur. I personally believe I'm more of an entertainer than an entrepreneur, but I help run this business here with Luke, and that's my part. I'm a right hand. I'm not a captain. I'm a right hand.
With your as an entertainer, you're creating something. You're creating value. Yeah. Okay.
That's enough for me. Yeah.
Are there not entertainers who earn millions?
Oh yeah, of course. And I would love to make millions. But what I'm saying is there's people out there who will have no interest in entrepreneurship. There are people out there who will not want to be that way inclined, who maybe aren't wired that way, let's say. And I think it's like like bee colonies. You've got your worker bees. You've got the queen bee. Everyone has.
I think that's all bullshit, bro. I think anything can be taught within a long enough timeline.
Well, of course, everyone could be taught that, but I'm thinking, would you want everyone to be entrepreneurial?
Yes.
Okay.
What do you think Dubai is?
Dubai is the meeting place of all the entrepreneurs of the world.
Yeah. So why do you think that's growing? Obviously, they've got the cleaners and the taxi drivers and so on and so forth.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Imagine if all of them, Dubai wouldn't be what it was if all of them suddenly became entrepreneurial because they would have no one to clean stuff.
Okay, so you're telling me if all those people who are cleaners and who are also taxi drivers were also AI people and works in robots, that they couldn't create people to clean
a robot.
Clean a robot.
I mean, you could make AI robots to do it. You could pay someone to do those jobs.
So those same people were entrepreneurial about the taxi driving and their cleaning.
Yeah, but they'd have to be entrepreneurial for that benefit, not their own benefit. They would be making these robots to replace their jobs.
If they were to come together and but what I'm saying is they would benefit from that. People would still pay to have that service to get from A to B or have the house cleaned. People will still have that need. But if they come together and created these robots and created AI to make this happen, they wouldn't then be there cleaning fucking houses. They'd be running the business, right?
But then you talk about robots, you turn away the humanity side of it. Because if you're an entrepreneur, as you've got these cleaners, you've got these taxi drivers or whatever who perform a service. If they suddenly all start becoming entrepreneurs and want to be business owners, it's like someone's still got to do. Like if you're a taxi driver, you want to be an entrepreneur and run your own taxi company. That's fine, but you still got to have someone to drive the taxi. But obviously, if you're talking AI and robots and stuff, that's a whole that just throws the.
This is the world that we're in. So this is the thing. It's technology is improving at a rate that we've never seen before. AI is fucking nuts.
Oh yeah. Did you make your own action figure as well?
Yes, I did. Yeah. I didn't post it.
Oh no, I want to see it.
Because I'm not a wanker. I just want to see.
All you action figure wankers.
Yeah, that's just like yeah, narcissism on a
Deletes
different level.
Deletes post.
But yeah, that's cool. But if you really start to think about it, where's this thing going? We're only 2, 3, 4, 5 years into this thing. Where's this thing really going? What jobs are going to be replaced? Those cleaners are going to be replaced. The taxi drivers are going to be replaced, whether you like it or not. Any low-level skill is going to be replaced, whether you like it or not. You made a valid point there. The only thing that can't be replaced is human interaction. But I know people who chat to fucking ChatGPT with their problems.
Oh yeah, therapists. But I mean,
Yeah.
But then you probably it's probably not going to solve your problems because it's not going to treat you like a human. I understand it's useful now. It might get to the stage where it will become a full-on therapist. You know, I'm pretty sure there's a Black Mirror episode
20
on
years
that,
ago, if you said, or you explained what is going on this day and age, you'll say, fuck off.
Yeah.
You would. And every stage of history that has happened. Electric cars, fuck off. You know,
Planes.
Man on the moon.
Yeah.
You're crazy. This, an iPad. What? Explain that to somebody in the 1800s.
Yeah, go back and explain that to Leonardo da Vinci. See
Exactly.
what he says, yeah.
So this is what I'm saying to you. The boundaries are being pushed continuously.
I like to think that AI is not going to take lots of jobs. I think those jobs are going to be replaced by people who know AI. Because even with AI, you've got
this is what I'm saying to you.
run it, yeah.
So this is what I'm saying to you. Those people will get a piece of the pie. Being entrepreneurial doesn't necessarily mean that you've got to be a standalone business person. You can work as a part of a team. You can have a piece of a pie. But unless you've got the skills to do so, you're not going to get anywhere.
Oh yeah, I think everyone should learn just on the AI thing. I think everyone should learn AI. I blew my mate's mind yesterday. Excuse me. We went out for food and he was like, "How did you make that action figure thing?" And I was like, "ChatGPT. Have you not used it?" And he was like, "No." And I was like, "Okay." So he makes YouTube videos on guitar. He's a guitar tutor. Shout out a call. And he was like, "It takes me 2 hours to write down, I don't know, 15 ideas of good YouTube video ideas that I'm happy with." Says ChatGPT did it for him in 5 seconds. Blew his mind. I was like,
there you go.
It's going to save so much time for stuff. But it's like, if you know how to leverage AI, you're going to be ahead of the game. Like, obviously, when we met at the ads day, Joe Stone's ads day and stuff, and we're talking about AI, ChatGPT there and stuff, and everyone's just like mind blown by it.
It's crazy. And the thing is, it's going to get crazier.
Yeah.
And these people are going to have to find somewhere to go. They're not going to be completely jobless. But it comes down to the educational system. They don't teach. They don't create entrepreneurs. They don't create business people. I learned financial literacy in prison. And when I learned it, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
No fucking way. And it was like a secret that's been kept from me.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I was taught that in school, maybe I could have seen another future. Maybe I could have seen another avenue. Maybe.
We don't like to talk about maybes and could-haves though, do we?
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, but the thing is, but like I said, because I wasn't aware,
you didn't know. You don't know what you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know, exactly.
Absolutely. Well, listen, mate, I have one final question for you, mate, and it's a question that I ask all my guests that come on, and you can answer it any way you want. There is no right or wrong answer, and is quite simply, do you consider yourself a success? It's a deep question. Some people come up with answers straight away. Some people take a little bit of time, but do you consider yourself a success?
Yes, because me sitting here with you today, on paper, statistically, shouldn't have happened. So I've beat the odds. And the maddest thing is, when we spoke about restrictions earlier, I've been playing within restrictions. I'm still on license. License is over on the 17th of this month.
Yeah.
That's when I really start to play the game. So I'm excited for that. So at the moment, yes, I do deem myself a success. But there's still more to come.
Absolutely, man. I love that answer. Fantastic. So, mate, tell people listening where they can find you, where they can follow you, and where they can work with you, mate.
They can find me on Instagram, Imthiaz_Ghulam, and the same name on Facebook.
Cool. You got anything coming up that anyone can attend? Any events, anything like that you're doing? Or are we keeping it hush-hush?
Funnily enough, last night I booked a unit in Dubai.
Nice.
So we've got the whole place to ourselves. 6 bedrooms. I'm covering everything. Just book your flights and you're spending money. And we're good to go.
Like a business coaching thing, or?
Yeah. So 10 days. I've probably got a couple of spots left. I don't know if they're going to be there. So get in touch.
Nice.
If you fancy having a laugh.
I didn't get an invite for this. God, I want an invite to this.
More than welcome. More than welcome.
I'll send Luke along as well. But listen, guys, you know what? It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on, mate. I think we've touched on some really good topics, and I respect everything that we've said today, and I think it's been an insightful conversation. I don't know if you feel the same. You might get outside.
No, I appreciate you, Adam. Honestly, for me, I don't get to have many conversations like this, and as openly as this. So, yeah, definitely appreciate this little conversation and appreciate you, man.
Yeah,
thank you for having me.
Likewise, man. And as always, guys, be sure to follow Imthiaz on anything. Check out his podcast and just give him some love. But also give us some love. Give us the 5-star review that we so desperately want, because it just helps push the podcast to new audiences and helps me keep getting better and better guests on. So enjoy the rest of the episodes on this channel, guys, and I will see you in the next episode. Take care.